Operation Market Garden was planned as a combination of an airborne operation and a lightning ground advance by motorized forces. The British 1st Airborne Division was tasked to capture Arnhem Bridge and hold out for 48 hours. This was the time the British ground forces thought they needed to reach Arnhem Bridge and relieve the airborne forces. Events turned out differently and the ground operation was seriously delayed on the very first day. This was due to the initiative of one particular German officer, Helmut Kerutt. By the summer of 1944, Helmut Kerutt had a long service as a frontline officer and was highly decorated. In 1941 he had jumped as a parachute soldier in the famous battle for Crete. He survived the bloody fighting and was rewarded with the Iron Cross 2nd and 1st class for bravery. As an East Prussian and a member of the German parachute forces, he was a tough and tenacious officer. His last posting was as the commander of the anti-tank detachment of the 2nd Parachute Division, which was decimated on the Eastern Front. His experience as a commander of an anti-tank unit would serve him well during Operation Market Garden. By the summer of 1944, he had risen to the rank of major and was given command of an alarm battalion of parachute recruits in Halberstadt in Germany. On the 5th of September, 1944, his battalion was attached to an ad hoc parachute training regiment, called after its commander Colonel Helmut von Hoffmann. It contained 2 alarm battalions and a regimental anti-tank company. This regiment was transported to the Netherlands. Apart from Kerutt, none of the officers had any frontline experience and most recruits came from superfluous signal troops, anti-aircraft gunners and ground personnel of airfields. This improvised regiment arrived in Tilburg and was to be whipped into shape for frontline service in a matter of days and sent to the Albert Canal in Belgium to buttress the new front line. The Allies were however quicker and breached the canal line at several places, and by September 10 they had even a bridgehead over the Merseld Canal. Battalion Kerutt was sent to the front line to prevent the British pushing all the way to Eindhoven. The road to Eindhoven was of vital strategic importance in the upcoming Allied offensive. This would be the main road of advance and supply for the British forces on their way to Arnhem. The British General Brian Horrocks, the commander of the relief force, expected that he could be in Arnhem within 48 hours, covering a distance of 70 miles. He estimated that he could reach Eindhoven by the end of the afternoon on the first day. Allied intelligence knew that the German forces in this sector were mostly inexperienced recruits, young boys who could be overwhelmed by a display of intense firepower and massed armor. In the days prior Operation Market Garden, the Germans had a sense that something was up and organized their defenses. The anti-tank company of Regiment von Hoffmann was put at the front to block any advance with tanks and armored vehicles, while both battalions would cover both sides of the road going to Eindhoven. In the afternoon of the 17th of September, the relative quiet on the front was broken by a 300-gun artillery barrage, which would pave the way for the advance of the British 30th Corps. The British presumed that the scarcely trained and inexperienced young German recruits would panic and run. To a large extent, this did happen. The short but powerful rolling barrage was followed up by British troops who mopped up the stunned Germans. The German anti-tank guns were destroyed by the British artillery and the road to Eindhoven seemed cleared. Kerutt had witnessed the onslaught on his young soldiers from his command post, but apparently the full brunt of an all-out attack by armored forces did not deter him. He had seen worse on the Eastern Front where the scale of war was much larger than on the Western Front. He hastily assembled a team of several dozen men armed with panzerfausts, a handheld anti-tank weapon, to confront Britain's best, the vanguard of the Guards' armoured divisions. The fearless Kerutt made full use of his expertise as an anti-tank specialist. He hid his makeshift anti-tank team in a forested area and ordered to hold fire until his men could almost touch the British tanks. Most probably he was there himself to give his men courage and give them the order to launch their panzerfausts at the right time. When the ambush sprang, the British vanguard lost 9 tanks within minutes, and what followed was utter confusion and bewilderment by the British force who thought they had just beaten the Germans. The ambush of Kerutt's team changed the atmosphere that afternoon. The British had begun their advance with confidence in the superiority of their firepower and within the relative safety of their armoured vehicles, but now the hunters had become the hunted. They were confronted by a determined force willing to fight, and their answer was an overreaction to this tiny force. They called in the Royal Air Force, which turned the forest into an inferno with hundreds of rockets in a bombardment that lasted for at least an hour. This caused without any doubt casualties among the Germans, but it also meant that the momentum of the British advance was lost. The British became more cautious and their advance crawled back to a snail's pace. By the end of the day, they secured the bridge over the Dommel at Valkenswaard. This was only 12.5 kilometers or 8 miles from their jump-off position, less than half the distance to Eindhoven. In the historical debate about Market Garden, it is often claimed that the British relief force managed to catch up with their schedule. In my opinion, it does not quite work that way. The British delay on the first day postponed the bridge building at Sun. It also allowed the SS troops to come to Nijmegen in force on the third day. Had the British infantry and tanks arrived in Nijmegen on the second day, as planned, the Germans would not have been able to maintain their resistance in that city with their forces at hand. It goes too far as to say that Market Garden failed due to Major Kerutt's tiny anti-tank team on the first day, but it was the first of a string of misfortunes, which led to the ultimate failure of Operation Market Garden. Please let me know in the comment section what you think about the impact of Major Kerutt's stand on the first day. Check out the playlist about Operation Market Garden if you like this video. Last but not least, don't forget to like and subscribe.